Pipe Network presents.
On this episode of Season 4, let's talk.
Way back in college that we've studied about the masks of the persons, the personality of the persons. Um, those personalities are parts of us, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's us. So it's just the mask. It's just part of you. It's not you entirely.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show, and I'm your host Rajiv Doreswamy. And this show aims to help reach out to those who are currently struggling in life and to remind you that life is indeed beautiful when you're inspired to make it your own. Before we get into this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to whichever platform you are using. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at The Rajiv Show. Hey folks, welcome back to The Rajiv Show. Oh, it feels good to be back speaking again in front of the mic after a long time. And yeah, I mean, we're still in the Let's Talk series, so the conversations will keep going. And my guest today, OMG, my guest today has been a long time planned conversation. We had a pre-recording before, but I don't think it never saw the day of sun. So this time we're finally doing this. We're planning to make the conversation happen. And ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Ace Delos Reyes. Hello, 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 hello.
Hi, it's Ace Delos Reyes. It's nice to be here. Hi, Raj.
Hi, how you doing? How's everything over there?
I'm basically fine. Um, I actually have extra time, at least
That's good. That's
a
good.
little, for this. Yeah, it's been a while then since the last time that I'm in front of the microphone. So
Yeah.
this is great.
But this is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting conversation. Guys, for those a little bit of backstory before we start this conversation was, of course, the last time we had a pre-recording. I mentioned this to my guest, and then I told her, I don't remember what exactly the month was. I think it was last year or somewhere around 2020, something like that. So 21 or saying I told her that the conversation is kind of be out of date, so we want to make do of what we got with the content because conversation will become irrelevant. So here we are finally after a long time, and of course before we get into the meat and bones of this conversation, Ace, could you give a little bit of background to my listeners about you?
So yeah, hi, I'm Ace Delos Reyes. I am the founder of the Masquerade Place. I am a registered psychometrician. Of course, I have a mental health professional. I am a guidance facilitator at the same time, a part-time college instructor, and I am the host of the Animus Inside podcast.
That's interesting. The first word that you spoke, I wanna understand that what Mediterranean, Mediterranean. I we want to talk about all that stuff. Uh, that's the first thing that came into my mind that I really want to talk about. But we'll uncover that. But first of all, let's build the storytelling with the first conversation that I asked my guests. We're taking a step further from high school because some people are not comfortable talking about high school, which I respect. If you and I were in college, who were you in college?
In college, I am that annoying classmate that will never let you copy my assignments, my answer,
Huh?
anything that will make you a cheater student.
Really? Oh, that means you're competitive. You're a competitive type of person that plays the game and does things well. Are you that type of person?
Hindi naman. It's not about being competitive. It's just how I actually give lesson or teach my classmates that the integrity of owning what you have. Kasi it's like cheating your own self. Parang it's cliche na sabihin na niloloko mo lang yung sarili mo. Parang sarili mo lang yung niloloko mo whenever you cheat.
Yeah.
Pero it's true. Because whenever you cheat on exams, for example, di ba? You're deceiving yourself that you know something and you're gonna be confident sa grades mo even if you don't really have it here. The thing is, ito yung gagamitin mo someday after you graduate and even in life in general. Whatever you put inside you, that's the one that you're gonna use, not others' answers, right? So whenever you cheat, you're actually cheating yourself. That's true.
I like how you opened up this conversation into a powerful, powerful motivation, and yeah, I know you're a motivational speaker on TikTok. I mean, I have much respect to what you're doing on TikTok. It's pretty cool. Motivational stuff right out of the way. Speaking of motivational stuff, um, is there a quotation that you live by in life?
That I live by.
Hmm.
It depends on whatever is the thing that I'm going through with, but
Yeah. On a daily, what's the daily motivational stuff that you keep yourself, when you wake up in order to conquer the day, what is that story that you tell yourself or that quotation or that stuff that you say in order to get things starting and get the day done? Get that fire burning and
huh,
get that day done.
just two words.
Hmm.
Always believe.
Interesting.
Always believe.
Interesting. This is really
Yeah.
powerful. This is really powerful. Before we get into the thing that you mentioned, that very supercalifragilistic word that you said in the beginning, I'm really curious about that. But before we actually talk about those kind of topics, I want to ask you, um, podcaster to podcaster, what was your inspiration uh, to your podcast? What made you get into podcasting? Because I think you and I are in the same niche. I have a feeling, and I like the mysticism that you put on your branding, which is Masquerade. What's the thought behind that? I asked two questions, which is what's the story behind the podcasting journey, and what's the story behind the name?
Okay. So this has been the change that I've been talking about from the last time
Yeah,
na postpone, 'di ba?
yeah.
The Masquerade podcast is not being updated anymore.
Hmm.
I don't have the power already to update that podcast anymore.
Hmm.
But it's still up on Spotify and other listening platforms.
Hmm.
I've started a new podcast. It's called Animus Inside Podcast.
Hmm.
That has been the change, one of the major changes.
Interesting. What's the story behind Animus? And to clarify, what was the story behind the name Masquerade? Because that Masquerade thing is really interesting. Also,
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's a good question kasi the Animus Inside podcast is still part of the Masquerade Place.
yeah,
Okay, the Masquerade Place is this little company that I have started with the old podcast, diba? So the
yeah,
Masquerade is um derived from the word persona,
yeah,
right? It means the mask.
yeah.
Okay, so the mask meaning we have this theory. Um, way back in college that we've studied about the masks of the persons, the personality of the persons.
Mm.
Those personalities are parts of us, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's us. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Malinaw ba? So it's
Yeah.
just the mask. It's just part of you. It's not you entirely.
Huh.
So like doon sa stories na nasabi sa previous podcast, the mistakes, the regrets, the bad sides of you, the dark situations that you've been through, it should not define who you are, but you should not also neglect the fact that it's part of you and it makes you whole. So there, the masquerade.
Interesting. And Animus, take us to the storytelling of Animus.
Yeah, the animus inside. When I revived my podcaster self, revived talaga, no?
Yeah.
When I revived my podcaster self, since the Masquerade podcast is like the entire 2 seasons is about me, this new podcast will now going to be about the society. What do I see? What's up? But
Interesting.
the Animus Inside podcast means the Animus means heart. That's the first definition.
Yeah.
And the Animus, this is also based psychological based on the theory of Carl Jung. The Animus means like the guy in a woman's heart. I mean, like the manness of a woman. You get it? So, first point is that I'm a woman. So my pronouns are he. I mean she. She
Yeah.
ha. Linawin ko. Oh my gosh. She,
Yeah.
her. Ayan. But I'm boyish. You
Yeah.
know? But I'm a she.
Yeah.
So like there's a man inside me
Yeah.
that I don't really need explain to others every time that I'm just boyish. I don't see myself or if I can't imagine myself using another pronoun.
Yeah.
Like I've been in that situation that it's hard to explain. I'm tired explaining to other people. So that's one. The other one is the faith that I have. Like the God inside this woman or the God that she believes in. So the man figure that she looks up to. So that's the Animus inside podcast.
Interesting.
That's it.
I'm starting to enjoy this conversation in terms of the topic that you've opened up here. Aside from that supercalifragilistic word that you got, we're gonna unravel thing. I noticed that you are very deep. You mentioned Carl Jung, and somehow your storytelling of your podcast is so deep. It's embedded to some sort of philosophy. Are you in some way, are you also a philosophical type of person? Because I can relate. I can relate to a philosophical person one on one. It's rarely, in my experience, it's really rare to nail a conversation with a philosopher, because there's a lot of debates, and I don't know if you agree with me though. Do you agree with me?
No, but I do believe in some like quotes that our philosophers have left us in this world. But there are theorists na pinipili ko lang talaga. It's the theory of Carl, the um the personalities of the people in Carl Jung's point of view.
Yeah.
That's one of the strongest belief
Yeah.
na I believe in as someone who've read a lot, a lot, a lot of theories of personality, but not necessarily philosophical. Kasi iba yung sa philosophy, iba yung sa psychology.
Yeah.
Philosophers are much deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. I mean, oh yeah, okay. Now we close the door on that philosophy side of it. I mean, but although from what I gathered from the conversation, the depth and the reasoning behind everything that you say is so inspiring. It feels so realistic to me, and that's what caught my heart when in that conversation, which I really respect you for. Psychology. You said you read
Oh,
psychology. Let's talk about psychology now. Was that also a part of your course when you did college? We're going back to college here. Was it part of your course that you had to
yeah, that's
study?
my
And
major.
interesting, interesting. And wow, that's pretty in depth. Huh? With your knowledge and your major in psychology, what convinced you to start a podcast with that background?
With that background, mainly because of the mental health that we need to spread out. Yeah, because it's one of the major issues that is being uh, neglected by the society. Yeah, and I technically I took an oath. I took an oath that I'll do my best to be part and serve our fellow Filipino people to take care of their mental health. That's part of our oath as psychometricians. So
Mm, there you go,
yeah,
psychometricians.
it's this is my extra mile to that
Interesting,
promise. The
interesting.
podcast.
I want to talk about psychometrician and mental health. Let's talk about this. But before we get into that conversation, that because I've been hungering for that conversation. Let's talk about that, folks. After we come back in the a few short messages. Do you want to get great deals? Go to Pipe Marketplace. Visit pipenetwork.co/marketplace and use the promo code TRS to get exclusive discounts. Chat with them now. Basta Podcast, Pipe yan.
Mainit na diskusyonan,
Masarap na kwentuhan,
maninamnam na usapan,
at nakakagising na balitaktakan.
parang kape lang. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Weya Angeline
Join us in our conversations at Coffee na Lang Dear Podcast.
Hey folks, welcome back. And I'm loving this conversation here with my guest, Ace. And I love the opening conversation that we had about psychology and how deep my guest expresses herself with the things that she do and the love and the passion. Now we're gonna talk about psychometrician. I don't know if I pronounced that right. What could you take me back to the story on why you chose that path and what's the reasoning behind that? Was it a cute guy in class? What was the story there?
On choosing the major, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, your major.
Well, a funny story is that my first choice,
Huh.
when I was in fourth year,
Huh.
no, actually, yeah, when I was in fourth year, in that school I'm going to apply to, my
Huh.
first choice was business administration.
Oh, interesting.
Because when we were in high school, we were a fan, my classmates and I, some of my classmates, we were
Yeah.
a fan of Wattpad stories, and most of the stories there, most of the girls or women on those stories are taking up business administration. So we have this fantasy in mind that, oh, maybe there's a cute guy on that course or something. That it's gonna be a fairy tale or something.
Yeah.
But my second choice is biology
Oh, interesting.
because there's something at the back of my mind that I still want to be a doctor, because when I was young,
Wow.
so young, my first answer to the question, anong gusto mo paglaki mo, is to
Yeah.
be a doctor. So I still have that dream,
Yeah.
but it's like because of the Wattpad stories.
Ah,
It's ruined, basically.
it's pretty interesting. Wattpad. I sound like a noob asking this question. Wattpad is that book app thingy, right? Where you can read stories. Is that the one? Am I
Yes,
wrong or
that's
am I right?
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. That's the app where you can read stories and you can publish your own story.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know Wattpad had that influence over fantasies and whatnot. that's that's interesting beyond
Yeah.
measure.
Do you know the movie, do you know the movie Diary ng Pangit? She's dating the gangster.
Diary na, that title sounds familiar. Where does that
Yeah.
title ring a bell? I'm not much of a Tagalog buff. Forgive me. I'm more of a Hollywood, but that title passed by my ear. I think probably through a friend of mine or a friend of a friend, and I heard it was a very good movie. I think so. I don't know. But yes, interesting.
Well, actually, this is just my opinion. We're not really fond of the movie part,
Yeah.
but those books
Hmm.
filled our high school lives. Those were
Wow.
the books that we're addicted to way back 2010, 11, 12,
Interesting.
13. Yeah.
Now it feels nice to think because I can't relate to that. I'm an old school textbook, book kind of person. And well, let's deviate from psychometrician to books. I mean, I could relate to books. Before starting out, I think I mentioned this also in countless conversations that I'm not an avid reader. As mentioned earlier, also I'm more of a cinephile more than a sing. And then what one book that I keep mentioning a lot in some of the recent podcasts is that Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book that got me hooked into reading. And I think it was I don't know, it was somewhere third year, fourth year college and stuff like that. And then from then on out, I was lucky to pick up this book, Godfather, Mario Puzo. I'm sure you know Godfather, Mario Puzo. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm sure you've heard of. It's a mafia thing. No worries. Uh, and that's what intrigued me into reading and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I stopped reading because I think environment matters to me personally. I don't know. It's a personal opinion for me because when I used to read, I need to have an environment where I am not usually comfortable in reading. Library in UB where I stayed, library is like sky high, and I'm sure you've seen the photos. We have a sky high library, and it's very peaceful there. I read there, I focus better, and it's very hard to get focus here at home, especially reading. I don't know, but yeah, it's yeah, it's interesting. You opened up reading, and I just wanted to share that countless stories that I could share about reading. Now, psychometrician. Um, I'm sure. I think I spoke to someone also who's a psycho masters doing masters. I don't know if saying we had a conversation about saying I heard that it's a hard journey. What are your thoughts so far in this journey being a psychometrician?
Well, it really helps me know other people better. That's my personal, I think, advantage. Like,
Yeah.
it's really easy for me to predict someone's behavior or someone's reaction to things. Like,
Mm.
if, like, for example, even if I didn't saw you earlier, I know that you maybe you've reacted that, oh, is it going to be tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the advantages. Like you're going to you can predict other people's behaviors. So you can also apply it on your personal life. You can predict your partner's behavior. You can predict your family members' behavior. Is there something that's bothering them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the second thing that I really enjoy in this field is
Yeah.
that it's it's like this life is for another life. You got to share what you know
Huh.
to keep someone or a lot of people to keep going.
Wow, it's powerful. My gosh, you are really powerful. I don't know. I felt like I went to church. Even with the simplistic words of saying, it's like you're very, very powerful. It's really interesting and it's powerful. I gotta commend you for choosing this field because I heard it takes a lot. It takes a lot of I mean, the field itself is challenging. In college I've also encountered a lot of psychology majors, and I gotta ask those. Speaking of psychology, in your field, what do you specialize in? Do you specialize in kids, group study? Uh, uh, the reason why I'm asking this is because I'm curious. As far as I know, I'm relating this to the knowledge. I'm relating this to an example that I know of in business. When you're getting into business, you have specific businesses. There's not a business that caters to almost everything, And what I mean by that is like you got niches and all that stuff. In psychology, I'm sure there's like subdivisions for each thing. Am I right? Is there subdivisions for each psychology major?
Yeah, there
And
is.
if I may ask, uh, where is your niche? If I were to classify it, what niche of psychology are you talking about in your field? Like what you're majoring in, or moving forward?
Um, for me, so far, yeah, as if it's really going to change, no. But so far, I think I'm good at handling group dynamics, facilitating group dynamics.
Hmm, interesting. Group
Yeah,
dynamics.
because I think they're all related. Yeah, group dynamics is the activity. Like, for example, there's a team building, you're gonna apply group dynamics,
Yeah.
put
Nice.
the
Nice.
company or the group of people into a rhythm
Yeah.
for a better understanding inside the circle, right?
Yeah.
So the goal there is to create a peaceful harmony, flow of connection, good relationships in a
Hmm.
certain group. So parang for me, it's related. My interests before,
Hmm.
um, di ba I mentioned that from college, my interests, my first choice was business administration and biology. So
Hmm.
parang targeted din sila because psychology is pre-med course.
Hmm.
It's a pre-med course. And psychology, there are a lot of people who are, there are a lot of psychology people who are in business field. They
Hmm.
work in the HR department. They
Yeah.
keep the harmony of the people.
Yeah.
So parang targeted din yung two choices ko nung college. Two
Hmm.
first choices ko nung college.
Yeah.
So it just um feels good, right? To see other people united,
Hmm.
working a bunch of workload, but
Hmm.
with peaceful relationship with other people. It's just so good to see, to witness, to hear stories
Hmm.
of something about like such kind of scenarios, right? So for me, I think that's the most interesting um, like specialization
Hmm.
in psychology, and that's what I think is I'm good at doing. I love like talking to other people, what to fix, what's wrong with the tone of your voice
Yeah.
when you're speaking with other people,
Yeah.
your hand gestures,
Body language.
your your body language, right? The
Interesting.
way you stand while you're waiting, the
Mm.
way you roll your eyes when you're speaking with someone.
Now I'm
Yeah, it
uh
all
it's funny now I'm coming to think of it. Well, guys, for those who don't know, Ace and I became friends during the pandemic, and we got closer when Ace challenged me in one of our communities. Guys, this is just a little bit short story that I know Ace can vouch for me for. How we know each other and how we grew as friends is that uh, I think when I mentioned that I'm from La Trinidad, and it was in one of our group chats where, um, if ever this pandemic is done, she made a vow that she would visit Mount Yangbao. If you guys don't know what Mount Yangbao is, Google it. It's a nice place. It's nearby the area. It's nearby where I stay, and not really close by. It's not walking distance. It's a little bit further, but it's somewhere around the area. And that's how I was saying. Now coming to think of it, now I want to relate this to what you mentioned earlier on. It's kind of funny. I'm now scared of actually meeting you because you you're gonna analyze me. Psychoanalyze me, but not. I'm just saying that as a form of joke.
well. uh, well, I do it as a job,
Yeah.
but I don't really like if we're friends, or like if I'm going to meet other podcasters. Of course, I'm not gonna do or act weirdly. Like,
No, but I
why?
mean,
What's the point?
I
You got
gotta ask though. I mean, in the field, it's like for me, in the field, I'm a music graduate, so sometimes, or as a music graduate, or I'm a fresh diploma also of an animation. You know, the thing about me is that in arts, in living in arts, it's like I have that sense of habit. I don't know if this is also is relatable to you. Um, I have this sense of habit, which I mentioned countless of times. When I create art cards, post, and all that stuff, I have the sense of I know what kind of aesthetics I have for my thing. It's like a perfectionistic thing habit of mine, and I cannot really. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if you could judge it by the way I'm saying this. Is that, uh, uh, for me, it's like a habit. It's like an instinct that's automatic. I guess through the years that I've been doing arts, through the years that I've been probably playing music or stuff like that. I mean, music wise, I'm not really the finest when it comes to detail, but when it comes to arts, I really have that eye for detail. And I gotta ask, I'm sure you've encountered like stories like that where you're talking to someone and then suddenly you notice like the guy's nose or some guy's nostrils and all that stuff. Do you have those like habits that you take it out of the office? I'm sure you have some weird stories like that.
oh my gosh, this is embarrassing.
Well,
But some
I
of my
shared my
friends,
embarrassing
whenever
stories
we're out,
already. Yeah. So I think we're even.
yeah, whenever we're out, and then there's like, for example, there's a good-looking guy
Hmm.
standing within the area,
Yeah.
area,
I sense a pattern in this
and then we're gonna
conversation.
like, so like we're gonna, is it a guy um or a guy or an amiga, ganon. So we're observing if
Really?
there's something, if there are signs, and then kapag confirmed,
Yeah.
okay, move on.
So you have the
That's one.
silent. You
That's
have a
one.
silence. Okay, silent judgmental, bawal judgmental kind of itbulaga thing going on here. Yes. Number two.
Yeah, pero merong times na okay, hindi namin ma-confirm. Yeah, pero ayun. judgmental. Like
Yeah.
I I I rarely use that. Wait lang. I rarely use that like point of view that you are judging other people,
Mm.
because sometimes whenever you see people and then you describe their bad behavior, kapag bad yung behavior na na-describe mo, it's like you are being a judge to them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Correct.
So, o sige, to other people's point of view, it's judging,
Huh.
but it doesn't really mean that people judge you whenever they define you. Sometimes they just define you, right? So, either positive yan or negative yan, people just define you. It's not really about judging, they define you. Okay, so for example, whenever we receive judgments
Yeah.
or negative feedbacks about us,
Yeah.
it's a feedback. It's other people's point of view. It's other people's definition of you. It's not really about judgment, right? So it's just another like lens of taking things positively. You have to take as a definition lang of other people of you. It's not a judgment.
Okay. So my bad on my English on that one. Well, but I
Hindi
really
naman.
love.
It's just I just shared my opinion on that.
Yeah. You were saying you had point one, and then you were about to continue point two. Please proceed on point two. You were saying something about point two.
Yeah, you can use it on your this, aside from using it on your personal life, like looking if a guy is straight or not, or
So basically, you're
looking
using.
if
I kind of see a sense of pattern in this conversation from the Wattpad story. It's really fascinatingly interesting.
everything is interrelated. I already told you everything is interrelated. So
Yeah.
the point that, of course, it on, right. So whenever I approach people,
Yeah.
of course, you always have to be nice. Is it a right time to throw a joke,
Huh.
or is it going to be should I be a serious one on that specific time? Is it a bad time to talk to that someone? It's just so useful for me. Even at home, like, syempre, when you have your family members, is it the right time to disturb them, to talk about something?
Yeah.
Right? In relationships, you can use it too. Is it the right time to share with your friends, to invite your friends over, to call, to chat, right? So it's so useful for me personally, even on self movement. Then,
Of course, for those who are tuning in, they want to connect with you via social media. How will they find you on social media, Ace?
yeah, I'm on Facebook as Ace Delos Reyes, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Ace Delos Reyes, at Ace Persona, ACEPRSONAAA.
Interesting. How about your podcast?
So the recent podcast, there's no social media account for that. Every update, they can check the updates of the new podcast on the Masquerade Place page and accounts on Twitter and Instagram. So it's the Masquerade Place at the Masquerade Place.
Awesome. I want to thank my guest for this conversation, and finally we've managed to finish the conversation in at least flying colors. Although, yeah. um, and I want to thank you for being a part of this show. Hopefully, I get to hear you soon, and we get to have that experience of climbing Mount Yangbao sometime. once this pandemic is done.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah.
And more power to you, girl. Keep doing what you do and keep changing the world, because I think you've, in this conversation, at least if someone was inspired by what you said, at least they learned something that is good. And for those who are tuning in, I want to say thank you so much for your countless support, tuning into the Rajiv Show and the Let's Talk series. We are on our way to 50th, and we're looking to push this series till the end of the year. And just a friendly reminder that the series may end soon. And but I hope you guys are enjoying this conversation and tune in for more. And with that in mind, cheers, folks, and I will see you in the next episode.